Hi, hello everyone. I hope that you're staying warm as well as you can. I've got a little bit of a cold front coming through my part of the United States at the moment, so you may see me bundled up extra in some of these videos if you're kind of watching them in sequence. What I want to talk about today specifically is using Twine but with variables. All right, so up until now, I've kind of just been using different links in order to move from, one passage to another. You can kind of see some of these graphic representations of some stories I've got up here, and then setting up links with custom names. So that way you don't have to display the name of the passage you're going to. You can say whatever you want, making your transitions much more flexible. What I'm going to introduce today are variables. And then a little later, I'm going to go into another video about different, more advanced ways we can use these variables. So you can keep an eye out for that one. That'll be exciting. But I've got a story right here. It's just a single starting one. Nothing too crazy yet, but I want to introduce the concept of a variable. Now, you may have used these before in math class, and the term may not seem, that crazy. I've got I just Googled variable in math to pull up some things here, and it's a little bit different in computer coding. So in math, you might see that I'll use this one right here as an example. You have your variable, this thing you don't know, and you do something to it, x plus 9. So you'd have like x plus 9 equals 1, or okay, s plus 9 equals 1. Then your x would be equal to negative 10. No. It'd be negative 8. I can't. It's too early to do math right now. That was going to bug me. So let's look over here at this other example. 1 plus x equals 3. You don't necessarily know what x is, so you rearrange the equation. You figure out x is equal to 2. You could have something else. Let's see. Boop, boop, boop. I'm just looking for a slightly more complex one, more of a formula. I just kind of Googled this off the bat. That's fine. You could have something again a little more complex, trying to figure out exactly what this variable is. You could have something where it's a little bit more abstract. X plus 5 equals y. So you don't know what those two things are, but you put in any value for x, and y is going to change. That's the basis of algorithms and things like that. It performs some process on a number. That's we can use them in similar ways in coding, but just at the core concept of variable is slightly different in coding. So again, this is kind of a coding platform. It's a little more abstracted than things like JavaScript and C and Python and things of that nature, but it still uses this computer logic in order to achieve things. So when we talk about variables, we're using the computer science and coding versions of these words. So what a variable is it's a piece of data, and it's an identifiable piece of data. It has a name, and it can have any value essentially that you want to store in that piece of data. All right, so you can say, hey, this is my variable. I'm gonna assign it the value of 5. All right, that's cool. Whenever you refer back to that variable by name, it'll display 5. But then you can change that value at any time to, again, just about whatever you want. And that's where the term variable comes in. The value that's stored can vary and change. And that's kind of the core concept of this. I like to think about it as like having I don't have one with me, like a Tupperware or a cup or a toolbox or some kind of container, and we're putting one value in until we need it, and then we're taking it out and putting another thing in there for whenever we need it, and you're just able to switch out whatever is in this container for whatever you need. Let's look at a really, really, really basic example just to show off both how you make a variable and how you can utilize it. So before, when we were making links, we were saying bracket, bracket, link, bracket, bracket. And that would essentially create a clickable link that would take us to another passage titled link. Or if you wanted to get more fancy, it would display whatever text you wanted. This double symbol syntax is something that is important. It's kind of how Twine, in the format we're using, kind of recognizes that, hey, something is happening here. So what I'm going to pull up now is there's not the caret keys. It's kind of like the greater than, less than symbols. On your keyboard, it's the same ones as the period and the comma. So if you hit shift, arrow, arrow, and then I'm going to type out something specific. In this case, I'm going to say set. All right, so we're telling the computer to set whatever comes next to a certain value. This is where we're going to then make the variable. To tell the computer in this platform that this is a variable, something that can change, we need the $sign. So set $sign. And then you can name your variable whatever you want. There's generally a few rules in coding. You can't start them with numbers, and you can't have two variables with the same name. I like to say in a lot of my coding classes that computers are powerful, but they're stupid. All right, so if you have two variables, both of which are named Apple, the computer's not going to be able to tell which one you're talking about when you say, use Apple to, draw this shape, or use Apple to set this equation, or whatever you want it to be. So it's not going to be able to tell them apart. And in modern contexts, a lot of coding platforms will actually just stop the code from running whenever that happens. Or it'll say, hey, you've got two things here. One of them is gonna overwrite the other. It can be problematic. So I'm gonna call this one just my variable. Now notice the way I typed this. All right, and this is kind of a common way to go about things. If you can't have spaces either in these names. All right, it's one. Essentially, think of it as like one word. But my variable is read as two words. So we use what's called camel case. So you start off with a lowercase, and then every time you have a different word, you start it with a capital letter. So my, lowercase my, capital V, variable. And it's called camel case because if you go along, the capital letters kind of look like camel humps. That's that, but that's the whole story. Computer coders have an interesting sense of humor. But all right, we're going to set my variable to whatever we want to do. I'm going to use a number for this one, so we'll say 5. And then we just have to close out this command with another double arrows, kind of pointing in the other direction. So it's opening and closing when you read it left to right. If you've ever done anything in HTML, this will look pretty similar. HTML uses this kind of setup where you're opening and closing things. But now here we go. We've set my variable, this is a new variable, to 5. When we run the code, whenever we pull up this passage, this line will get executed. We can display our variable just by saying $sign my variable. And you have to spell it exactly the same as you do right here. So let's close out of this and look at this in the context that you would actually see it. I don't need this up here anymore. All right, so I'm going to hit play, and we just get 5. All right, so when things are inside of those double, those little arrow brackets, the open and close symbols, that's not going to be displayed on the screen. Right? You won't see it. It's going to be some action for the computer to perform in the background. And then whenever you type out the name of your variable, it's not going to display the name, it's going to display the value inside of it. So again, we set it to 5. If I was to close out of this, change this to set variable to that big number, and then hit play again, we now get, what is that, like 9.8 billion, something like that. We get this other value that we've stored in there. So we haven't changed the variable, we've changed what's inside of it. Right? And again, that's the core concept of variables in computer. You have the one thing, this piece of data that we're referring to by name, the name my variable, and we're just able to change what's inside of it. So I'm going to make a simple story right here, nothing too crazy. So let's set something. I'm just going to show you ways you can utilize this in some basic contexts. The next lesson we'll be doing will be on conditional statements, and this combined with the variables will make for some much more interactive and, in my mind, a little more intuitive use of this data. I'm just going to be separating them out into different videos, so it's not something super long and overwhelming for anyone who's completely new to this. So I'm going to rename this. I'm going to say let's see, I'm going to say set my variable. I'm going to name it money, and I'm going to set this to 10. All right. So the story I'm going to be starting. What a fun day today! I get to go to the mall with my allowance. Smiley face. Man, don't you miss going places? All right. So I'm going to make go to the mall a link, and that's what we're going to do. Pew. All right. So I'll say I am now at the mall. I have $money dollars to spend. Another smiley face because they're gonna go buy something exciting. I'm not sure what to buy though. Should I go to the game store or the, well, what do people buy at the mall? Shoe store. All right, and I'm kind of just branched this off. Just say, actually, instead of I'm now at the mall, I'll just say, I'm just gonna get rid of that one. All right, should I go to the game store or the shoe store? Oop, did that game store not work? Oh, I'm missing a bracket. There we go. Boom. All right. So I'm gonna. All right. So if we go to the shoe store, I found some great new kicks. They only cost $8. Set money to 2. Close. So again, we're going to be doing this right here, where we'll be setting the value inside of the variable named money to 2, but that'll be happening in the background. We won't see it. Man, I sure am hungry now. Let's check out the food court. Can't type. Alright. Alright, and now at the game store, I found this cool new game. It only cost me $4. set money to, let's see, 10 minus 4 is 6. Bracket. Shoot. Alright. I sure am hungry. Let's, bracket, check out the food court. Alright. So, no matter which way we go in our story, we're going to go to the mall, find a store, try to go get a snack. And then I'm just going to say, I only have $ money dollars left. What should I buy? All right. So this is where I'm going to stop the story for today. We're going to go through it before I leave. But at this point, you know, I've made a very basic story where we start off with our money being at a set level. We show up, we display what that text was, what the money is. If you go to one store, you spend a certain amount of money. If you go to another, you spend a different amount. It's pretty straightforward. What I'll be doing now is having them both come to the same place, and then in the next video, we'll set up a conditional statement, which will be based on how much money they have left. The reader, having gone through a different scenario, will change what they're able to buy at the food court. This is a very affordable mall. But anyways, let's play through that just to see it. Again, I'm going to be stopping the story here because this will be something we do in the next video. But let's just play through it. All right. So, typo, but what a fun day. I get to go to the mall with my allowance. We say go to the mall. I have $10 to spend. I'm not sure what to buy, though. Should I go to the game store or the shoe store? And then you, being the reader, get to pick. Let's start with the shoe store. I found some great new kicks. They only cost me $8. Man, I'm sure I'm hungry now. Let's check out the food court. I only have $2 left. What should I buy? All right. Let's do that again. I'm going to go to the mall, go to the game store. Found a game. It was only $4. And then we're going to go to the food court because we're still hungry in this timeline. But now it says I have $6 left. All right. So again, by changing the scenario and having different amounts where we are setting money to 2 here because 10 minus 8 is 2. And then setting money to 6 here because 10 minus 4 is 6. These are different. We're only doing one of those two things. Depending on our choice, we will change our variable to something else, some different value. And then we're just displaying whatever that changed value is here. So by getting to this point, we have changed what text will appear on the screen depending on the reader's choices. So this is a great tool. Again, stuff like this, it depends exactly on what you're going to use it for. I think that when we get into the next video talking about conditionals, which will build off of this code, will help you maybe come up with some ideas of how you can keep track of these values and have different things happen depending on what these variable values are. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. I'm going to just, like I said, end it here. If you enjoy the video, like, subscribe, do all the YouTube-y things. I'll be kind of filling this out as I go along, but I enjoy seeing what people make, so feel free to share whatever stories you might come up with on Twine. I love seeing those. And that's going to do it for me today. All right, everyone, have a great day. Try to stay warm, and I'll see you next time. Bye.